What's going on YouTube, and welcome to another video. If you're new to the channel, I welcome you. Be sure to hit that subscribe button followed by the bell notification so you never miss an upload. And if you're watching this video, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot, lets me know that you enjoy these types of videos, and I really appreciate it. So I have made several Scream videos. You all seem to enjoy them very much. We have great discussions, great debates, whether you agree with me, disagree with me. It's what I do this for. You know, great discussions, great videos, have a good time. That's what it's about. So I wanted to make a video using the information that we have, as well as previous theory videos and whatnot, as well as discussions that I've had with you guys, and sort of paint a picture and story for the upcoming Scream 5 film. Now, this is just an idea and theories, but I wouldn't be surprised if all or a lot of these are used in the film, because I personally think that they are great ideas. But as always, I want to hear from you down in the comments. Let me know, join the discussion. So, going off of the information we have, as well as the idea of one of the OG3 dying, we will exclude Sid primarily for argument's sake, but also the way she is morphed into Scream in a lot of ways. I think her death would upset the audience the most. And although I do think that they want to move away from the OG3 into a newer generation, they've already said that they plan on making a trilogy, so you don't have to do that in this film. You can sort of build it along the way with a Gale or Dewey death in this movie, which sort of sets the tone as like, you know, nobody is safe anymore, nothing is sacred, and you sort of build that momentum into a Scream 6, into a Scream 7, where unfortunately she inevitably dies, but in a very heroic way, and you do the character justice. So that leaves us Dewey and Gale. And going off of the information we have, I believe that Gale will live during this film, although I think she would make a lot of sense for why she would die. Judging off of set leaks and photos and things like that, it appears she is in later parts of the film. Although we don't have the chronological order for those photos, you can tell even by seeing, you know, photos with Sydney that she is in later parts of the film. So I don't see her dying. And again, if she does, it'll probably be towards the end of the film. But we'll eliminate her as well. Not just because of the set leaks, but also she has been such a big part in solving the murders that I think, even though that is one of the reasons why if I was one of the killers I'd want to get rid of her, I think they'll keep her in to help solve the crime. So we will eliminate Gale as well. So that leaves us Dewey. From a character standpoint, as well as him being the sheriff, I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, we'll get into more details as I lay out the story, but he has always been a character that has gone headfirst into the fire. Every Scream, he's the one that's charging at the killer when everyone else is running out the building, and I think it's even more so now that he's the sheriff. So I think it's much more likely that he will be in a situation that'll ultimately get him killed. Besides, how many times has he pretty much died in these films? I think this time it'll be permanent, though. There won't be him getting carted off at the end of the film or whatever. I think he will be the catalyst to kind of launch the film the rest of the way. But we'll get into those details now that we have the one OG that will die, and that's Dewey. So let's get into the story for Scream 5. So for the last time, going off of the information that we have, as well as keeping it semi-realistic, because Scream has always had a realism to it, we know that from what the director has said, as well as other like teasers, is that there is supposed to be a sort of nostalgic sequence in the film. I personally think that it will be a sort of montage, maybe show Maureen kind of go through everything up to the point that we are at, because chances are we're probably going to be several years into the future from Scream 4. I don't think it's going to pick up right where Scream 4 left off. So you'll have a sort of montage. People speculate that it'll be Stu. I don't think it'll be Stu in the sense that people want it to be. I think realistically it'll be Stu in the montage, in the flashback sequence, not in like as a character in this movie. So you'll probably have the montage, you'll have the opening kill, as with all Scream films. The opening kill will probably be a newer character, one we're not really familiar with. And I think that'll open into the new Woodsboro, get us, acquainted with the new cast, because we already know who Sid, Dewey, and Gale is. So that'll put us, roughly 15, maybe 20 minutes into the film, where I think we will see Sydney. We'll probably see Dewey and Gale at some point during that, because they still live in Woodsboro. I think Sydney we will see about 20, 30 minutes in, because I think she will be in hiding, because she tried to do the whole, reassimilate into society. She got a publicist. She wrote a book. She tried to, put herself back out there instead of hiding like she was in Scream 3. And it ended up biting her in the butt. Everyone around her died again, as usual. And I think that's going to make her go, you know what, I need to just stay in hiding. Everything was fine. And I don't think that anything such as photos or like a killing spree in Woodsboro is going to draw her out. That's where I think Dewey's death is going to come into play. I think what will happen is there will be some sort of setup that will lead Dewey into a compromising situation that will lead to his death. Now, I personally think a good story would be Hicks as a mastermind. Now, there is a lot of rumors that there will be several killers in this film, not just the typical, 1 to 2. It will actually be several. And we know that it is a possibility because of Scream 3. Scream, the original trilogy for Scream, was supposed to have a cult-like following where there was a abundance of killers that basically were all working together in different areas, different locations in Woodsboro, trying to kill the main protagonists. So I think that is a realistic approach in this film. I think Hicks being sort of the killer that we are aware of, but nobody else is, makes a lot of sense. Her getting rid of Dewey now puts her in position for the sheriff. So now Dewey's gone, she is the sheriff and can really manipulate and control things behind the scenes for the other killers. And that is a big enough thing to draw Sydney out of hiding. Because I think Hicks, judging by her character in Scream 4, she always had that wait a minute, is she the killer? She was very possessive and obsessed with Dewey. She was very targetive and attackive towards Gale. And I think that she may have even known about the other two killers in Scream 4. I mean, even when she was shot, she had the bulletproof vest on. Who's to say that the killers weren't aware of her wearing the bulletproof vest as a setup, as okay, she's not the killer. She can't be the killer. And I think that Hicks would be able to lure Dewey away from everybody. Maybe even, Ghostface disguises his voice. It's, Judy Hicks on the phone. That leads Dewey away, but she's, it wasn't me type thing. She becomes the new sheriff. Boom. That draws Sydney out of hiding. Gale would probably be suspicious the entire time of Judy and everything else. I think Judy would go after Gale. Again, I don't think she will die, but I think it's a possibility. Maybe at the end, maybe Gale is working with Hicks because Hicks wants to stay close to her, and Gale stumbles across, as she has in pretty much every film, stumbles across Hicks being associated with the other killers, and boom. That's how Gale goes out. Again, realistically, let's say she doesn't die, I think Hicks would still stay close to Gale to kind of throw her off the scent, throw her off the tracks, keep her focused while the other killers are going after Sydney and the other group. I just think from a plot perspective and standpoint, whether we know Hicks is the killer or not, and it's sort of just the audience is in on it type thing, or nobody is, they play it off as like she's just another guy, another deputy that became sheriff because Dewey died. Whatever it is, I think that would be a great story, that she is sort of working behind the scenes with the other killers. Again, in Scream 4, she had the bulletproof vest on. Yes, cops wear bulletproof vests all the time. But why wasn't she shot in the head or something else, She was shot perfectly square right in the bulletproof vest where, there were no worries. And you would think, if I was going to kill a cop, why would I put it, why would I shoot them where they're probably wearing a vest? And vests are usually bulky. You could usually see them in the clothing. So I just think using her character in Scream 4, it makes a lot of sense that she would be associated somehow in some capacity with the killings in Scream 5. She becomes the sheriff, which allows her to really control and really manipulate everything behind the scenes. She could cover up evidence. She could do whatever she wants now. Now it's a huge thing, and they can now go after Sydney and Gale. Dewey's death, I think, would be tragic. I think it would upset a lot of people. I mean, when Randy died, people lost their minds. People were very upset about it. But people got over it. They moved on and watched the later films. I think the same thing will happen with Dewey. I think it'll hurt for a lot of us fans. I grew up with Scream, so of course I don't want any of these three to die. But realistically, I think it's inevitable. And you start with Dewey. You can maybe even end with Gale, which transitions into 6 or 7. But either way, now you have your story. You have a montage. To summarize, you have a montage, opening scene kill. You have the introduction of the new cast and characters, with maybe Dewey and Gale sprinkled in between. You have Sydney, showing that she is in hiding. She's locked away. Dewey getting set up and dying, which allows Hicks to become the sheriff. She's working behind the scenes the whole time, whether we know about it or not. Gale is trying to solve the crimes, but Hicks is really close. Sydney comes out of hiding because she just lost arguably the most important person to her. So now her and Gale are on a mission to solve and end this. And then whatever happens from there, you have the new cast. Some of them die off, some of them won't. There will be the big surprise where a couple of them will be the killers. And then I think at some point, whether it be this movie or, maybe even the next, maybe she isn't revealed until the later movies. But I just think it makes a lot of sense. She went to school with Sydney. She knew Sydney. Said a lot of strange stuff to Sydney. She knew Gale. She knew Dewey. She's tied very closely to them. It's almost too good to be true. And I get it almost sounds too predictable. But if it's done in the right way, I think it could be a very good movie. But as always, join the discussion down in the comments. Let me know what you think. If you agree with me, disagree with me, either way, let's have a discussion. Let's have a talk. If you have another idea for a type of video I could do like this, leave it in the comments. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, followed by the bell notifications. It means a lot to me. And if you could stab that like button for me, I'd really appreciate it. It helps me out a lot and lets me know that you enjoy these types of videos. So, I'll see you next time.